Hello and welcome back to the Riverside Review. It is me, your host, Carl Owen, back with another podcast. Today we are covering the league predictions for the EFL Championship 2026-27 season, which kicks off later today, with the first game being Wolverhampton Wanderers against Blackburn. So, let's jump straight into these league predictions. I have got it written down next to me, so if you see me looking down, I am just checking I've put these in the right order. I have actually recorded this video 5 times already, 2 very early this morning, and again twice later today, and I recorded it another time as well with a PowerPoint, but for some reason I couldn't crop the badges, and yeah, it was just a total nightmare. So this is actually attempt number 6 in getting this video out, so hopefully this one is worth it. So, kicking off relegation, who is coming dead last? For me, it is Blackburn Rovers. I just don't see them doing very well this season. Best thing to come out of Blackburn was Callum Britton and Sammy Smodics. Both have gone to better clubs. So for me, Blackburn will be bottom. Following them, newly promoted side Lincoln City. I don't know. I'm not too sure about Lincoln City. You know, yes, they had an amazing run in League One. Will they be able to keep up with the level of the Championship? I doubt it. Just ahead of Lincoln City, where are they? Here they are, Bolton Wanderers. I think they will go down. Very much a very common theme in English football at the minute is newly promoted teams going down. So Bolton and Lincoln are in my bottom 3 for this season. Coming in at 21st, we have Portsmouth. I think Portsmouth will just survive. I think Pompey have had some decent players and can definitely just about survive in the Championship this season. Just ahead of them, we're going for Charlton Athletic. Of course, Boro seem to struggle against Charlton. Not sure why. But very much like Portsmouth, you know, a few results go their way and I can see them just about surviving, or at least facing a bit of a relegation scrap with the other teams. Just ahead of them, I've got the Hornets, Watford. For some reason it won't let me add them to the list. Watford, they've been on the decline. You know, they're not the team they once were. You know, back in the day, I say back in the day, it wasn't so long ago, with the likes of Will Trues-de-Kong, Ben Foster, Aurelio Gomez, you know, Troy Deeney, Gerard Deulofeu, and, I mean, my career mode legend, Emmanuel Dennis. Watford, sad to say as well, but I think they will be in the lower half of the table come the end of the Championship season. Just ahead of Watford, I'm going to have Preston North End. PNE, no offence to any Preston fans, but Deepdale is such a dead atmosphere. It's like watching a football in an abandoned stadium in 2020 when COVID hit. It's literally like there is no atmosphere at Deepdale, and yet, you know, Preston, I really hope the best for you guys. You know, I want you to stay up and keep fighting. You know, you've got Della on loan. Potentially he might sign on depending on how he goes. He scored on his debut for Preston. Alfie Devine obviously joining from Spurs as well. So I think they really are building something. Are they building something necessarily that can fight for mid-table? Maybe. But at the minute I've got them on the higher up of the bottom end of the table, sat in 18th. In 17th, we have the Blades, Sheffield United. I don't see much coming from Sheffield, other than maybe some goals from Patrick Bamford. But besides that, I don't see much for Sheffield United this season. Coming in at 16th, we have West Brom. Yeah, again, just a very standard side. Not going to do too much, but I am hopeful that this mid-table scrap with these teams will be very entertaining throughout the season. Just ahead of them, a bit of a surprise, I think, for most people. Most people are going to have these guys a lot lower. It has just kind of ruined it because it didn't put it in. But I have the Bluebirds, Cardiff City. I think Cardiff are going to surprise. I really do. I think Cardiff are going to surprise this season and are definitely going to prove themselves to the doubters that have them towards the lower end of either just surviving relegation or going straight back down. So my dark horses of the Championship this season are going to be Cardiff City. Just ahead of Cardiff, we have the Potters, Stoke City. I don't know what they did to their badge. Honestly, why it's got a pretzel on it, I've got no idea. It could be an owl, but it looks like a pretzel. The Potters, at the end of the day, they're a mid-table team. They're going to stay mid-table. It's just factual. It's just facts. So, Stoke City in there at 14th. Coming in at 13th, we have Queen's Park Rangers. If it's gonna, why won't it let me add these to where I'm actually putting them? Queen's Park Rangers, QPR. They've got a decent squad, made some decent signings, solid overall depth, solid squad, all in all. But I think, they will just manage to sit in the middle table in 13th. In 12th, there should be no surprise here if you've been following the Championship for a while. It's going to be Bristol City. They love to finish within 10th to 13th, and I think 12th is just the sweet spot for them. Of course, no longer have Vitek as he's joined Boro. Bristol City still got decent players, don't get me wrong. I mean, Scott Twine is somebody I've looked at for a while. I really hope Boro would go for Scott Twine, but he's decided to stay at Bristol City. Just ahead of them, we have the Blues of Birmingham. Manager, I'm not convinced. Players they've got to bring in. They need to bring in a lot of good players. I mean, they've got a good owner in Tom Brady, and with the extra 30%, the owners can bring into the transfer budget over the season. I think with a few injections to their squad, Birmingham can look towards the higher end of the table. But 11th, I think, is realistic for Birmingham to finish this season. Coming in at 10th, maybe a bit of a shock to some people, but I've gone for Derby County. Derby County have just signed Bobby Clark, on a permanent deal. They've got a lot of decent players, a lot of good players. They go very much under the radar for a lot of people. I think Derby will get 10th this season. Cardiff City are my dark horses, but if I had to have a second dark horse, it would be Derby County. And of course, they've got the bald eagle, Matty Clark, at the back. So, very much rooting for them this season. In at 9th, maybe a bit of a shock, and this is not biased in any way. I will be going for Wrexham. Wrexham, yes, it was only a 1-0 win for Boro in the Carabao Cup, but Wrexham did not threaten us at all. Boro were out and out the best side. They tried to play a low block and play on the counter, but Boro were just too strong for them. They've got some decent players. They've got Danny Imre, who I'm excited to see. Callum Doyle, of course, one of the best defenders in the Championship. A lot of good players. Nathan Broadhead, absolute danger man. But all in all, I think Wrexham will finish just outside the playoffs, because you've got to remember, this season 8th will qualify for the playoffs. So in my opinion, Wrexham will just miss out this season. Leapfrogging Wrexham, I have got Swansea. Swansea are building something. They are really building something, and I'm looking forward to seeing how competitive Swansea City will be this season. I keep an eye out on these guys because I think they're going to play some really good football this season. Just ahead of Swansea, newly relegated, but no, I've just completely forgotten the phrase. They've been around the Championship, they've been around the Championship for a while. They're nothing new to see in the Championship. They're not under Vincent Kompany anymore, so they're not as much of a threat as they were before. They've got an ageing Carl Walker at the back. Zian Fleming is their main danger man, but I think Burnley will struggle back in the Championship, considering how good the other teams are, because of over time being able to build up their squads. I think Burnley will really struggle this season, although I do think they will still make the playoffs. Just ahead of Burnley, we have Millwall. I need a new computer. This computer is way too slow. Millwall ahead. We know how good they are. Boro, we remember how good they are. Josh Coburn, he really did a number on us, didn't he? But Tristan Kramer as well, team of the season. Fully deserved. I think Millwall are still going to be a very powerhouse heavy contender, and no doubt in my mind will make the playoffs. Just ahead of Millwall, I have got the Spygate specialists. Watch out, teams. Get your binoculars out. This is not John McGinn. It's eyes on the prize for Southampton as they look towards the top two, but realise they're going to get playoffs. I'd love nothing more to see Southampton have an absolute terrible season, considering what they put us through. I've seen a lot of fans online still blaming Boro, the victims, and it makes no sense. Why are Boro getting the blame for Southampton cheating? Southampton cheated, their manager admitted he cheated. This isn't the first time that he has cheated, and there's the speculation, I'm not going to say evidence, the speculation that Boro weren't the only team he cheated on in the Championship last season. So, what do you want? Saints fans, what do you want? You can't throw shade at Boro, for doing nothing wrong. We were the ones that you spied on. If it was vice versa, then fair enough. But considering we were the ones that were spied on, and yet there are still Saints fans saying, oh, I hope Boro get relegated, it's it makes no sense. We didn't kick you out of the playoffs, the EFL did. So, at the end of the day, Southampton, I've met some Southampton fans that actually, are saying, yes, they were in the wrong. And although, for me personally, I did actually say I wanted Hull to go through. Watch my Spygate video if you don't believe me. But I did say I wanted Hull to go through automatically, because that was all in all the fairest way to settle it. But yes, Southampton for me will finish in 5th. Just double checking, yes it is 5th. Just ahead of Southampton, I'm going to go for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolverhampton Wanderers, of course, coming down, signed an old Raul Jimenez. I think he's about 35 now. So I'm not expecting him to score a lot of goals. Got Adam Armstrong as backup. Few decent players in there. Bueno, very solid fullback. All in all, they did sell Andre to Aston Villa. Will that be a hit in their midfield? I am not sure. But one person from Wolves I would keep an eye on is Mateus Mane. Very good young player. I'm pretty scared to see what he's going to do in the Championship. Coming in at third, I'm going to go for Norwich. Now you're probably saying, Cal, why aren't Norwich your dark horses? You've put them third. I think Cardiff are my dark horses, and then Derby are second dark horses, but I think Norwich are going to be a surprise. I think a lot of people are going to be caught off guard by how good Norwich are going to be. Norwich are one of those teams that are easily underestimated, and then in the game just come out of nowhere, blowing the barn door off and just come at you out of nowhere. I mean, they've got Brooks, who's just joined them from Crystal Palace. They've got Chris Garton at striker. They've got loads of good players, a lot of talent. And I think that Norwich will be a very big surprise. I've put them third. A lot of people are probably going to say playoffs, but third place for me feels right for Norwich this season. Now, getting into the top two. What are we thinking for the top two? I think everybody I've watched do these predictions has had these two in their top two. Usually it's one way over another. Am I going to be biased being a Boro fan? Am I going to be realistic? I'm going to be real, and it's very similar to everybody else, but I am going to put Boro in second. Boro have a record of bottling it. We bottle it. We get injuries, especially into the towards the January transfer window. We never bring in much squad depth, but Boro at the minute are looking like a real creative powerhouse. We're one of the best creative teams, one of the most creative teams in the Championship. Excuse me. We've got one of the best defences in the Championship. We've just brought in Man United's Radek Vitek, who had an absolute stellar season on loan for Bristol City last season. So with competition with Solbrin, who I think is still a really solid keeper, did mention that in the player rankings video that we did also. Feel free to go check that out after this video. I think Boro are going to do really well. I mean, we've signed Will Lancashire. A lot of Spurs fans were sad to see him go. They really wanted him to stay at Spurs. We've got the likes of Berhalter, who I think is going to get Player of the Season. Rogue shout, clip it. Berhalter, Player of the Season this season. I think he's going to be instrumental towards Boro's automatic promotion push. Max Arston coming in, Carl Joseph as well. Talks have broken down with Ashley Phillips, but I hope it still goes through. We're in talks with Leicester to sign Mavididi, who would be an excellent addition on the wings. So Boro, for me, definitely should be top two. But as a Boro fan, I know how much things can change. I do think we'll finish in the playoffs. If we don't finish top two, we will definitely finish in the playoffs. I can't see us getting any lower than 8th. I know a lot of the time we finish, when we have like a decent season, just like an average season, we finish anywhere between 5th and 10th. So if we can get 8th at the very worst, we're still in the playoffs. But I've got Boro to get second. And then by no surprise to a lot of people, in first place we have got West Ham United. West Ham, the Hammers, the Irons, you know, they're heavy favourites to win the league. They've got one of the best squads. Jared Bowen staying on is definitely a massive bonus for them. I think if they don't get automatic promotions, get knocked out in the playoffs, Jared Bowen is definitely going to leave the club. All in all, you know, it's just one of them things. They've got Juve, they've got Hermansen, you know, they've got Jared Bowen, like I said. They've got cash from Mateus Fernandes going to Spurs. They've got cash from Somerville's transfer to Saudi. You know, Freddie Potts leaving to join Club Bruges. You know, they've got all this money they can add in. Of course, they've got parachute payments from relegation from the Premier League, plus that extra money their owners can throw in. So I wouldn't be surprised, very much like Boro, to see Southampton splashing the cash. Maybe not now. Maybe they're going to save towards the back end of the season and try and get some really nice deals done in the January transfer window. But all in all, Castellanos looks absolutely insane up top at striker. They've still got Nicholas Fulkrug as well. You know, they've got loads of good options, lots of talent. Just signed Solomon as well, who used to play for Leeds. We don't like Leeds on this channel. But yeah, all in all, West Ham to win the league. So, we're just going to do one final run through of our predictions. First, we've got West Ham. Second, Boro. Third, Norwich. Fourth, Wolves. Fifth, Southampton. Sixth, Millwall. Seventh, Burnley. Eighth, Swansea. Ninth, Wrexham. 10th, Derby. 11th, Birmingham. 12th, Bristol. 13th, QPR. 14th, Stoke City. 15th, Cardiff. 16th, West Brom. 17th, Sheffield United. 18th, Preston North End. 19th, Watford. 20th, Charlton. 21st, Portsmouth. 22nd, Bolton. 23rd, Lincoln. And 24th, Blackburn. Feel free to disagree and argue with me in the comments. I really look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts. Let me know your predictions. Give me your player of the season, your dark horses, your relegated, and your winners of both the league and the playoffs. Hopefully this is going to be a great season. Up the Boro. Thanks for tuning in to the Riverside Review. See you next time.